While going through the portal, the group made sure to hold on to the person in front of them tightly. Finally, the distorted space ended and white light could be seen up ahead. When their eyesight slowly returned, the first thing they could see was green. Lots of green. More specifically, giant green trees. "Please step aside to allow the other students to arrive," a loud voice said as he pointed to his side. Just like last time, they had arrived in one of the areas that had been circled off. The group went over to where the man pointed, and it seemed there were other groups of students standing by the side, waiting as well. Several soldiers were checking and coordinating with them, making sure they stayed in place and didn't wander off. "It's a lot better organized than our last trip," Layla said. The first thing Quinn did was pop up his trusty umbrella to protect him from the sun, but this time it didn't do much to make him feel better. The place was humid, hot, and sticky, and it looked like he wasn't the only one being affected, as everyone around was sweating heavily as well. The shelter itself was vastly different as well. In a way, it looked incomplete. Most of it seemed to be made from some type of wood and mud, although the architecture was impressive. They had managed to build upon the large trees, incorporating them into their shelter. But the thing that surprised him the most was just how many residential houses there were in an orange portal like this one. "This is one of the cheapest places for people to live in," Layla explained. "The citizens aren't required to pay tax on an orange planet, so those who can't live on Earth and can't even make a living on a green portal planet end up here." Quinn started having strange thoughts after hearing this from Layla. If it was true, those who couldn't afford a place to live on Earth had no choice but to be here, then why didn't Quinn end up in one of these places like these kids? When his parents had died, a government official had come over and explained to him that they would look after him until he was 16 and provide him with an apartment. So why didn't these kids get the same type of treatment? The students were now being led along to an open space, and while doing so, they could see the people from the shelter and children come out from above. They looked down on the new students, peeking over from the bridge. All of the first-year students were once again lined up in rows with the homeroom teachers at the front, while Faye and Leo stood in the middle of all the classes. They had come to an open area of the man-made forest. The trees had been rooted and dug out, and the ground flattened. Most of what they were standing on was mud. They could also see several paths from the circle, open area leading deeper into the forest. "All right, everyone, each class shall now explore a different path," Faye said. "The scanners will not activate until your teachers say so. You will continue to follow the path, and your teachers will tell you when you are in an unexplored area. My last warning to you all, you will encounter beasts on this trip. At what level, I do not know. I wish you all luck," Faye shouted. Fex, who was walking by Quinn's side, took in a deep breath of fresh air. "Nah. Compared to Earth and these planets with all the bright colors, our home has nothing," Fex moaned. While relocating, they had decided to choose a mostly dark place, and they also needed an atmosphere that they could still live in. They had found the perfect place for vampires, but I don't know why, but it always felt strange to me. The vampires were indeed no longer on Earth like they were when the blonde man was a vampire. At some point, they had relocated to a different planet. As they walked, Quinn decided to use his inspection skill on every new thing he saw. The pathway came to an end, and now the mud had turned into thick, heavy leaves and short green plants. "This should be a good spot," Del said as he placed his large shield onto the floor. They were now in an open area. There weren't as many trees and vines. It allowed them to see from all directions. "Students are not to travel more than 200 meters from this spot. If you do, your scanner will notify you, indicating they will no longer work," Del explained. "For each new plant discovered, you will receive 5 points. For each new beast discovery, 20 points. All right, your scanners are on." At the same time, each of the scanners made a ding sound, and the students rushed off in different directions. "Let's do this," Layla said. "Let's get to the top for Aaron." Quinn liked that idea. He rushed off into a section of his own along with Peter and the rest. The battle for points was fierce as students continued to run around the area, scanning every item in sight. "Damn, this has been scanned already," a student complained. Some of the weaker groups decided to stay together as they went around. Although this stopped other teams from snatching points from them, their progress was relatively slower than those who roamed alone. The stronger groups decided it would be best to split up. This way they were able to cover a wider range, while the other groups decided to do a mixture of something in between. Out of the strategies implemented by different groups, To catch up to the others, Quinn's group decided to do a mixture of the two. They decided that they would travel around in pairs. Quinn and Peter, Layla and Vorden, and lastly, Fex and Sia. It was important for them to have one strong member with a support-type member. The group had already split up, and while everyone was off looking for some new items to discover, Quinn noticed something peculiar. There were 10 groups, yet nearly every group had a single member that acted as a type of mule, a person designated to carry their belongings. After a closer inspection, he also noticed that these mules were people who had the lowest levels in their group. Nevertheless, they would still wander off and look around as instructed by their team. Wouldn't this be the perfect chance? Quinn thought. Right now, they weren't in school, and many of the students had separated from each other. If he was to take a sample of their blood and mind control them afterwards to forget what had happened, no one would ever know what he had done. It was the perfect crime in such a perfect situation. Blood type A positive consumed, strength 20. Eventually, Quinn managed to find 2 more students, and he used the same tactic as before, getting him another 2 stat points. Quinn managed to get another blood type O, increasing his charm points to 14, while also obtaining another blood type A, increasing his strength. Faye and Leo were standing together at the starting point where all the groups had split off. Suddenly, a beeping sound was heard from their watches, indicating that one of the teams had asked for help. "I'll get to it," Faye said as she stormed off at lightning speed in the direction of one of the paths. Leo stood there, taking in the fresh smell around him, but it was quickly disturbed as another beep reverberated from his watch. "Another one?" Leo said. "Is this planet more dangerous than we thought?" He had hoped that perhaps the teachers were only being trigger-happy, sending out a signal prematurely. It was always better for them to be on the cautious side when it came to these things, but the fact that 2 signals were sent out at the same time concerned Leo. The group had managed to obtain 25 points in total. They also discovered and scanned a peculiar type of rock mineral in the mix. Still, they were vastly behind the others, and their weighted points at the end of everything would be negative 25. What they were doing at this moment wasn't working, and they needed a change of plan. The quickest way for them to earn points would be to find beasts. Ding, ding, ding. Just then, a few meters away from Quinn, one of the scanners had made 3 dings, a sound that he hadn't heard yet. The scanner pointed at what looked like a boulder that was stuck in the ground. The top part could be seen, and it had several areas of green moss growing over it. But after the student had finished scanning the unique object, he took a few steps backward. Panic was evident on his face. "A beast!" he shouted. "I found a beast!" The student's teammates had gathered around the excited student to see what he was babbling on about. One of the students who was moving closer turned out to be Quinn. The system granted him a special bonus when he first killed a beast, though this beast has never been seen by humans before. Perhaps being the first person to kill such a beast would also grant him additional points. The team that had discovered the beast gathered around the scanner, which displayed basic information about the beasts, and after reading one line, they were excited. It was a basic tier beast. Keeping this secret to themselves, they immediately dashed forward. If it was an intermediate tier beast, the group might have been a little cautious, but a basic tier was easy pickings for a team of 5. Seeing the team of 5, Quinn was upset about how hesitant he had been. But he couldn't act right now in front of these people. The beast that the group was chasing looked like an ordinary boulder that was stuck in the ground. Even now, as the students charged towards the thing, there was no reaction from the beast. It still looked like a boulder. Seeing this, an idea came to Quinn's mind. He ran aside the students who were captivated by what was happening and entered a different part of the forest. Fex, too, decided to go off and keep an eye on what Quinn was trying to do. "Come on, guys, we can't waste time just watching this thing. Let's carry on looking around," Vorden said. The student's hand who was leading the charge turned into a brick-like substance, while the other students behind also drew their weapons and had their abilities readied. The student at the front slammed his fist into the boulder. A loud impact was heard, but there was no reaction. The ones from behind had also decided to use their attacks on the strange boulder-like beast, but the same had happened, and it seemed like the shell was nearly impossible to break. Seeing that the so-called beast was doing nothing and not wanting to waste any more time, the students continued to scan around for other things. While everyone else had now lost interest in the beast, Quinn had not. He went through the forest using his inspection skill on every boulder-type thing he could see. Most of them were just that, regular boulders, but then he had finally achieved a result. Basic tier beast, boulder snail. A beast that has an incredibly hard outer shell. The beast will only move in rain. He was unaware that he was being watched by Fex. Using strings as he walked between trees in the air, he made his movements silently, and now he was carefully watching Quinn from above. Quinn stomped his foot onto the ground, raised the energy inside him, and pulled back his arm as he let his other fist outward at the same time. He activated his skill Blood Spray to create his still most powerful strike, Blood Hammer. It sounded like someone had shot off a bullet in the middle of the forest. The beast had a large crack in the boulder, and black liquid was slowly dripping out from it. Basic beast has been killed. 50 EXP gained. First time killing boulder snail. 100 bonus EXP gained. You are the first person to kill a boulder snail. 5,000 bonus EXP gained. Now, the loud sound that erupted from the impact of the blood hammer on the beast's shell had echoed throughout the forest. Within its chambers, a large figure dwelling deep inside a cave awoke. Bloodshot red eyes flared open as it made its move towards the sound. For defeating the new type of beast, Quinn had gained a bonus of 5,000 points, which had leveled him up a total of 3 times, and now he also had 6 free stat points to play with. For now, he thought it was best if he was to keep these stat points in reserve. Quinn wanted to place the stat points into his charm skill. Still, the orange portal planet was a dangerous place, and Quinn didn't know when he might need to use his other stats for dangerous situations. Before leaving the area, Quinn managed to shove his hand into the small crack he had made, even though it was only a basic tier crystal. Quinn was already thinking about what type of armor the crystal could be used for. It had been over an hour now, and the group had a total of 60 points. Now when students were scanning items with the scanner, it would constantly come up with an error. 15 minutes had passed, and there wasn't a single sound indicating the students had found something. "All right, students, everyone gather up in the center. It's time for us to move on to the next area," Dell shouted. As the students started to walk over to Dell, loud, low sounds could be heard, and vibration could be felt underneath their feet. A large beast stood on all fours and had a long neck. There was no fur, and it resembled something similar to a dinosaur. Even the size was something similar to what they would have imagined. The only difference was on its back, it seemed to have a large flower bud. It completely covered it from its neck to its tail. Advanced tier beast Florosaur, unable to obtain further information. "Guys, we have to run," Quinn said in a serious tone. After finding out it was an advanced tier beast, Quinn didn't even think about the possibility of trying to defeat it because of its experience points. Last time, he almost died fighting against an intermediate beast. Dell was never much of a fighter, and his ability also didn't support that fact. Immediately, he started tapping his wristwatch, sending out a distress signal. Dell just wanted one of the sergeants to appear in front of them now. Out of all the students, Quinn was the first to take a step away, trying to get a head start on the other students, but the sound of his steps caused the leaves to ruffle, and the creature's head turned and immediately looked at Quinn. "Maybe moving isn't a good idea," Layla said. Dell had felt the same way, which was why he hadn't shouted at the students to run away or retreat. The sudden movements could frighten the beasts. Most beasts were hostile towards humans, but the higher tiers seemed to have more intelligence, and some would leave humans alone. The bud on the beast's back slowly started to open up, revealing a pink center. Out of the pink center, 6 vines rose in the air before dropping down and falling to the beast's side. Although the beast wasn't moving, the vines were stretching out from the buds as if there was no end in sight. One of the vines had reached the student closest to the beast. After waiting a while, nothing happened. The student eventually opened his eyes. At that moment, the head of the vine opened up and attached itself to the student. Using both hands, he grabbed onto the vine and tried to pull as hard as he could, but it was no use. The suction and stickiness of the vine were too strong, and he couldn't break free. The vine lifted the student high into the air and towards the beast's mouth. "Everyone run! It's a hostile advanced tier beast!" Dell shouted as he ran into a random part of the forest. However, while Dell was running blindly through the forest, he was aware of a great problem. The distress signal sent from the watch was only a signal sent to the sergeants. They would then head over in that direction. If Leo or Faye was to head there now, they would have no clue where Dell or the other students had gone. The students at the back could hear the booming footsteps getting louder and louder. When Dell had made it past another tree, they had finally come out to an open area. The open area was quite large. To the left and right there were two paths, but they were slightly slanted going uphill, and Dell didn't like their chances of outrunning the beast. "We have no choice. We have to turn and fight," Dell shouted. The vines continued to hover around the beast's side as if they were alive like snakes, while the main body of the beast charged straight ahead into the students. Like a whip, the vines were used to knock the students who were closest to it. "Healers and support-type abilities, come and stay behind me. We don't want you to get hurt," Dell commanded. "Anyone who uses a beast weapon as their main attack, come closer to me now. My ability allows me to double the strength and durability of any beast weapon for a limited time. We need to defeat the beast before time runs out," Quinn overheard Dell said. "Pio, come!" Quinn shouted as he dashed off towards the fallen students on the ground. Peter wasn't the only one that was following Quinn. Right now on his other side, Fex was running closely behind him as well. "I'll cover you while you do whatever you want to do, but you will owe me one after this," Fex said with a wink. As the three boys got closer to the beast, the vines started to head towards them, slashing out at an incredible speed. Now on the other side, another vine was coming towards them, and this time it was Fex's turn. Fex was a vampire and was unable to use his ability just like Quinn. However, there was a clear advantage of Fex's ability over others. When using his string ability, it was almost invisible to the human eye. As the vine came towards him, spread both his hands out and slashed it downward, cutting the head of the vine right off. However, just like with Peter, the vine seemed to have an incredible recovery speed, and right now, the head was starting to form out of the cut cells by Fex. Quinn placed his finger into the student's blood around the chest. It was too far away for the other students to see the finer details, and everyone else was busy fighting the beast. Quickly shifting his hand into his mouth, he quickly picked up the student and rushed back to the others. "AB blood type consumed, stamina 18. Quinn repeated this process with the other students who had been hit. In total, he managed to save 5 students and at the same time consume their blood. All in all, Quinn had gotten stronger. Strength 23, agility 19, stamina 18, charm 16. While Quinn was busy looking at his stats and the two by his side were busy dealing with the vines, a third vine had already set its sight on Quinn. When the two had looked at each other, the vine had set its target. It reached out as far as it could to grab onto Quinn. Just as the vine was about to reach Quinn, its movements suddenly slowed, and Quinn was able to create a distance between the two. That's when he noticed the strange, ghost-like spear, half of its body inside an elephant. "The spirit spear?" Quinn said confusedly. Upon looking back, he could see Sia had decided to help out by using her spear.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.